idea to contribute to the carbon neutrality by being able to develop the offshore renewable energy, to green the maritime transport, to look at how the ports are playing an important role in economy of the future, not only for the services that can offer for the offshore economy, but also in terms of dealing with all the climate changes and attracting, I would say, the skills needed for their future role in the economy that we want to develop in front of us. We have in front of us, also to be able to consider and to alleviate all the pressures on land for food production and protein sourcing. So these are the challenges we have in order to address this for the future. We have already calls that were supported previously. We have this project as well, and we need to put all of this together in order to be able to look of how the skills are going to be supported for the blue economy for the future. So to be able to put together large-scale partnership in our blue economy sector under the Pact for Skills. Let's bring together all the lessons that we learned from project development and work together on this. As I said, there are different other sources. Recovery and Resilience Facility is going to address the skills. European Maritime and Fisheries Fund are addressing, but we need all of us to put all the pieces together and to see how the blue economy is going to be supported in the future with the skills that we need for its sustainable and I would say green transformation in line with all the level of ambition that we have in front of us. This is what I wanted to mention today. Of course, that my colleague as well, Andi Kondudakis, is with you physically. She was with you along the journey for the MATES project, and she will complement what I presented this morning. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for this presentation, which also gives the floor for the next one, because we wanted to show how the Commission is working from different sides in the promotion of skills. And even if we are talking about sectoral skills for the maritime, it's quite important also for DG Employment, DG Grow. So we have, after Ms. Strachinescu, we have with us Ms. Julie Fionda, Deputy Head of the Unit Skills Agenda. And she will present how they are contributing to this process that has been just introducing. Please, Julie.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to participate. And as said, you have two dimensions from the European Commission to talk to you today about the different angles that we see this, how we see this project, and how it fits into the broader picture. I think I'd like to talk to you, as has been said, about how we see the skills dimension in particular, and how your blueprint links to Europe's strategic priority of creating a culture of lifelong learning in Europe's workplaces. First, a word on the context. Andrea's already spoken to you about the EU Green Deal, so I won't go into that. Maybe to just complement briefly, Fit for 55 package sets out a policy mix to achieve climate neutrality by 2050. And there, the overall outlook is a positive one. According to our projections, climate policies will create around 1 million jobs in the EU by 2030 and around 2 million by 2050. But, and there is a but, these industrial shifts will see winners and losers. And in order to manage the transition without leaving the potential losers behind, we need to ensure that workers in declining sectors can get new jobs in promising sectors, and that people will develop the skills to help them access new opportunities, whether they're coming into employment or they're later in their career. So what can the EU do? The Commission has put on the table a proposal on individual learning accounts. It places individuals in the driving seat of their up and reskilling. This means financial support, but it also means measures to strengthen the motivation to participate in training and to make training more accessible and make it more valued. This includes an aspect on guidance and a registry of quality assured training in each member state. Now, the question of quality brings me on to the topic of trust. Recent years have seen a huge upsurge in short targeted training courses. And these micro credentials can offer a good solution for upskilling and reskilling in bite-sized chunks. But it can be difficult to navigate and to find relevant and quality training provision. So the Commission set out a set of guidelines that can help build trust in provision and help stimulate an increase in those short targeted programs. We also recommend the use of micro-credentials to tackle key skills challenges, such as green skills. Now, which skills? Here, the massive upskilling and reskilling that's required for the green transition is a major challenge for the education and training sector. And quality on the job training is also going to be extremely important. The European Skills Agenda, which has been mentioned, sets out the Commission or the EU approach to skills for the green transition. But what do we mean by green skills? What are the skills that we actually need for the green transition? They're both subject-specific skills, but also transversal skills. In January this year, we published a European taxonomy of skills for the green transition. And so what we've done there is we've identified the skills, both specific and transversal, that are most relevant on a greener labour market. And we're also supporting the development of a core green skills set for the labour market and a competence framework on sustainability, Green Comp, in order to support better needs analysis and self-identification of gaps. So what about maritime technology? How does this relate to maritime technology and renewables specifically? Offshore renewables is a sector growing, as we've heard, and it's a key area for the green transition. Today, around 62,000 people work in the offshore wind industry and around 2,500 in the ocean energy sector. And it's an industry where the EU has competitive advantage. In November 2020, the Commission issued the strategy to harness the potential of offshore renewable energy, to map out a path to replace fossil fuels by offshore renewables. I don't need to go into this, and I don't need to perhaps underline to this audience that in the context of current global events, how sustainable and how homegrown energy sources is becoming even more important. And in the next years, it will be crucial to move to greater sustainability in both the environmental sense of the word, but also in the self-reliance sense of the word. So to keep pace, you need people with the right skills, it's clear. And these are not always readily available on the labour market. And here is where the results of your MATES project comes in. The project has identified occupations that will most be affected by future scenarios, and together with the skills needed and the practical courses to address these needs. I also want to praise your outward-looking approach in the project. You have contributed to the Commission proposal on a Council recommendation on addressing the social and labour aspects of the just transition, towards climate neutrality. And you've also successfully cooperated with other Blueprint alliances that are working on training solutions for the blue economy. The approach that you guys have piloted, involving stakeholders and working across a value chain, both big enterprises and SMEs, education and training providers and other stakeholders, this approach to develop and to implement strategies to address skills gaps has inspired the European Pact for Skills, one of the flagship actions of the skills agenda. The Partnership for Offshore Renewable Energy has been a leading light in the Pact, and with MATES, you've shown how the deliverables of a Blueprint Alliance can make an important contribution to the work of such large-scale partnerships. There are 9 skills partnerships that have joined the Pact, who are also building upon Blueprint alliances. So you and other sectors are forging the way in this area. The Pact partnership, the Pact for Skills partnerships, they don't start from zero. They can build on the concrete results of projects such as the MATES project. They can disseminate their deliverables and link to other policy frameworks such as regional smart specialization strategies. At the European level, we've established now support services just this month, and they are now beginning their work to support those large-scale partnerships in delivery. Also on networking, on knowledge, on guidance services that can help members of the Pact in order to take their plans to the next level. And that's perhaps part of your legacy. So in conclusion, I think I would like to thank you all for your hard work over these last years. The cooperation that you've forged together and the outcomes of your project will have a significant impact on how the sector can move into the future, both by influencing the debate at the European level, as we've heard from Andreea, and by providing concrete solutions for your partners. So congratulations, and I want to wish you a successful final conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these so impacting words, Julie. And if just to continue and to merge all the questions together, what we can do is to do the debate after the next presentation. We will have just to finalize this frame of what we are discussing today. We are going to present together with Renato and Miguel the sustainability plan and the MATES strategy that we are talking about, and this sustainability plan that we have received today in hard copy. Maybe you can just stay here with me, so we just change a little bit, change the places at the in the middle of the presentation. So I will start this presentation just giving an overview of what the MATES project has been and the main outputs that we are discussing today. The MATES project is a blueprint project, and it's from the first wave of blueprint projects that were answering the call that was proposed in the Skills Agenda 2016. So the idea of this type of projects is to improve skills intelligence and address skills shortages in strategic sectors for Europe. And what we have components and consortium, as I said on the beginning, of 17 partners from 8 European countries, representing all the main stakeholders from the capacity demand side, but also from the capacity offer side, to work together in the creation of a skills strategy addressing the maritime technologies, but in particular 2 sectors very linked among them. One more traditional sector, the shipbuilding sector, and one emerging sector, the offshore renewable energy sector, that are quite linked together. The aim is quite ambitious because the project impacts in a big mix of policies. On one side, those from addressing the blue economy, but also the Green Deal, the digital strategy, and transversally, all the policies addressing skills, the occupations as well, the ESCO developments, and some very particular vocational and education and training standards. And of course, the European Pillar of Social Rights and European Commission's priorities. I will not go on the detail. We have today, we will be able to download the document of the impact and legacy brochure from the project, and hopefully we can take the hard copy at the end of the session. And for doing this, it was important to mobilize much more actors than the ones that we had in the project. So there was an important effort to mobilize more than 200 experts that had a continuous work with the project. We had working on a regular basis with them, representing all the types of stakeholders that we were addressing, but also with the different focuses we wanted to address with the project. Not only the sectoral ones of the offshore renewables and the shipbuilding, but also some focus on ocean literacy and raising awareness on the importance of keeping a safe ocean and the impacts that the ocean have on our activity and or impacts in the ocean, also on digital technologies, on innovation management, and all these transversal capacities that have been mentioned by Ms. Fionda, and green technologies, of course, gender balance, and all the vocational education and training standards that are so important to keep a common frame for all of us, which can be related with the national frameworks. So this was part of the legacy of the MAIDS project. And what we did with all this support of the expert groups that collaborated with the project was, let's say, something simple, but in a very collaborative way. We started by analyzing the planning of the strategy was an analysis of the skills needs on one side, but also on the training offer on the other side. And not only the needs at present, but also we made a foresight of the future trends and what could we expect in terms of skills needs for the future years. Then we made a baseline strategy with some lines of action that we addressed in the second phase, that was addressed to create a set of pilot experiences to launch all these ideas of the strategy in very particular situations and regional places. So we could test what we were doing that we need to promote. It was quite challenging because at the moment we started to create all these pilot actions, we had the pandemic, and it was something that forced us to readapt what we have been proposing, so we could develop it in the changing conditions that we had during these past years. And then we made a critical review with also with the support of all the groups of stakeholders that we had mobilized to finally create a validated strategy and action plan that we are presenting today. So here you can download from the section of results of the projects many results, but I just mentioned in the presentation those that are the key results from the first phase, the state of the art, the baseline report on the present skills gaps and the future trends, and also the baseline strategy. Then I will just showcase that we had 11 pilot actions, and to present them, we are not going to present them today, but just some impact of some of the pilot actions of each one of these groups of pilots. Some of them were addressing the online training, online training and developed online training materials, addressing the data management, but also we had several MOOCs addressing the shipbuilding 4.0 and integrated logistic systems. Then we also had some pilots in blue here in the graphic that were addressing the work-based learning at the training center. It's a different approach than the work-based learning, which is quite interesting, but we wanted to bring the industry to the training centers, and we will have also some debate on what was the impact of those. We had also developed several training programs addressing both sectors. We had some offshore renewable energy short courses that will be today also present in the first panel. And we finally had also some blended transversal learning. We promoted mobilities. It was challenging in the moment we were working, but we promoted online and in-presence mobilities to develop best practice in the green green training. And we also made several pilots to promote the blue careers among the secondary students with different approaches, but all of them were blended learning with a very practical approach. Whoops, maybe Flor, can you pass to the next one? And finally, in the middle, we had also an analysis of the new occupations and skills that was also developed as a pilot experience. And among the main outcomes, well, we have the maritime technologies skills strategy that we presented on September, and that has been reviewed by a lot of experts during these past months. We are now you can access the first version, and in the coming months we will release the final one in a long version and a short version. All results has been transferred to the Marine Training platform. It was more than 900 trainings across Europe that has been introduced in this huge database, in which you can consult a lot of trainings addressing the marine and maritime sectors. And finally, the skill strategy is also being transferred to the Pact for Skills partnerships. And here we have that the two sectors we are addressing are considered in different industrial ecosystems by the European Commission. So what we have done is to transfer to the shipbuilding large-scale partnership the main results, and also to promote the creation of an offshore renewable energy large-scale partnership in the Pact for Skills. And we have, of course, transferred the MATES core strategy to the vision that we have built with the main stakeholders in the offshore renewable energies. Some numbers of impact. Well, we have classified it in 4 groups, and we can say that we engage more than 1,600 participants in more than 50 MATES workshops and events. And we also identified more than 100 best practice in ocean literacy that you can also browse in our webpage. We had more than almost 200 companies and schools and training centers involved in the pilots, and about 200 industry representatives and teachers were involved together in the training delivery. At the end, it was more than 1,000 hours of training delivered which are just to test, because the idea is to continue developing and using these materials. We transferred our results on the analysis of occupations to the ESCO database. In the second panel, you will have the opportunity to deepen what has been done with the ESCO community, but 18 skills addressing these two sectors were transferred to this huge database, and 5 new occupations also were proposed. Beyond the update of all the occupations addressing these sectors. And we also integrated MATE's results in the Blue Economy report. Indeed, we didn't integrate them. They were integrated by the teams working with these policy documents. And also we contributed to the European Offshore Renewable Energies strategy. And we had a lot of, we dedicated a lot of efforts to disseminate. 37 videos are available in the web and the YouTube sections. We were presenting the project in more than 300 events with more than 30,000 people attending. And finally, we also received the recognition of the Atlantic Projects Award, and because the project is addressing all the European sea basins, but we had a lot of activity in the Atlantic, and we could be recognized there. So with this, all these results, we build sustainability and long-term action plan. And I will leave the floor to my colleague Renato and my colleague Miguel to present this document.
Thank you, Lucia. So after the presentation of the project main outcomes, now it's time to make a brief presentation of MATE's sustainability and long-term action plan. First, I will give a short overview of the project deliverable, and then my colleague Miguel Marques will show the main features of the document. The MATE's sustainability and long-term action plan is a project deliverable proposed to be developed by 2 public administration bodies. One from the Azores, FRCT, which is the regional funding agency for science and technology, and one from Galicia, the regional government, Xunta de Galicia. Then the project agreed to involve Skipper and UL as an external collaborator to support the plan design and development. The sustainability and long-term action plan outlines the process to ensure the long-term, deep and concrete actions of the maritime technologies skill strategy proposed by MATE's project. It contains an inventory of the project results and knowledge outputs, which led the consortium to identify the partners' interest and commitment to sustain and exploit relevant project outcomes. The document also provides suggestions for the practical application of the skill strategy. And as Lucia pointed out, the strategy transfer to the Pact for Skills in different industrial ecosystems is a good tool to include the main stakeholders in the maritime industry, namely stakeholders from the industrial ecosystems, such as the MATE's target sectors, shipbuilding and offshore renewable energies. Finally, the sustainability and long-term action plan includes analysis of available instruments and funding opportunities. Here we we identified national and private funds, but the main highlights are the 8 European Union funds that are planned to enable the reskilling and upskilling during the current programming period. Miguel, now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Renato. Thank you, Lucia. And good morning, all. So I will try, I think everyone has this document. The ones that are here and the ones that are following us at home or at office can download from the internet. And this means that much will not end today or will not end this year. This means that it has a life. So this is about the future. It is about the sustainability of the project and its impacts also in the future. As the previous speaker said, we are in changing worlds, and it's interesting that 4 years ago it was decided to bet on a blueprint on renewable offshore energy and shipbuilding. Now I believe that this document, your work, your intense 4 years of work are very, very important for the future. So I don't know if we can change the slides, or if we have a problem, I can go through this. I don't need my slides. Okay. So I will go through the document if you do not mind, because it seems that we have a problem with the slides, and you can find, of course, the content of this document, which encompasses the commitments. So the commitments are very important for the future, because all the partners here engaged are not only engaged for the 4 years, but for the future. We will also have a second part of the report about sustainability roadmap and long-term action plan. Yes, it's not in detail, but I think if you go through this document, you can start to implement things. I'm speaking now a little bit. And we have a third part about available instruments and funding opportunities. Of course, without money, it's difficult to go forward. But again, we are talking about skills. Yes, skills are demanding in terms of money, but also are demanding in terms of brain and in terms of experience. You know, we are not aquatic beings, so we need to be trained on ocean. And of course, a lot of funds are focused on the skills, but to train skills, we need also hard investments. We need boats, we need the shipbuilding. So there is hand in hand, investments in skills are hand in hand with other investments to operate on ocean. So now we have the slide, and I hope we are able to change them. Okay, thank you. So the partners that you know, and as also it was said in the beginning, is important to have a cross-sea basin attitude. So we have partners all along all the sea basins. So this blueprint for the future encompasses all the visions of the sea basins. As it was said in previous tasks, we have here the stakeholders from policymakers, standardized bodies, social partners, education and training provider, and employers. If you can help me in changing the slide. Thank you so much. This is one part of part one, just for you to have. We were asked not to go over 40 pages. I think we believe we achieved that. So we try to synthesize, summarize, of course, in detail in the site, in other platforms, you can find more information. You also have here in the report the names and the contacts of the partners where you can ask for doubts or things. So please, if you can go forward. All of the document is organized under these MATES strategic recommendations. So please, if you can go forward. And all the methodology used here is aligned with the previous methodologies used in all matters project. So please, here there is some new things that were not tackled, or at least it was structured more information about understanding priorities in terms of the timelines. So we, with these arrows, with different shapes of the arrows, we can understand what could be more important in each area, having in mind that everything is important. So please, if you can go forward. To conclude, and to not repeat too much, because without the slides I already talked about the finance, it is important to be hand in hand European, national, regional funds with the private money, and as to train people on ocean, we need also the other investments for boats, platforms, whatever. It's relevant that the finance is attached also with other priority investments of the European Union. So I believe I reached the end of this. So thank you so much. This is in the internet and also in hard copy. And we are here also to take some doubts if they exist. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. And we have some time to open the floor if any of the participants, either in online, by the chat, or in presence. We have, I think, one hand micro also over there. And if anyone would like to make any comment or share any question. Otherwise, we can continue with the debate, and we will have more time for sharing with the debates. And we are in the room, so if the question arises later on, we will answer it. And even for those that are online, we can also answer questions after the end of the event. So thank you so much for coming for the presentation. And I will give the floor to the first panel. We have with us Ms. Evelyn Paredes, the moderator, and we will have also Virginia Alvarez from Antía. Excuse me, Virginia, I was not looking at it. I will just give you the floor, and we can just stop sharing now this one. And
I think we can also ask Andrés to join the panel, please.
Can you join the panel? We have Andrés is not here, but he will be online.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Laura.
Tom and Laura.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Evelyn Paredes, and I will be moderating the first session of the day. I'm a project officer at Ghent University, the Marine Training Platform. Well, today, this first session will be devoted to share the successful stories related to the sustainability of the MATES project outcomes. We will do it with the view and the words of a selected group of panelists that are joining us today, and they will be presenting the views and interests of several European companies working in the shipbuilding and the offshore renewable sectors. Our first panelist is Virginia Alvarez-Acevedo, a green energy officer responsible at Antía. She will be focused on the simulation of industrial spaces at vocational education and training centers as a trigger for dual programs and other applied trainings. Our next panelist is Laura Alonso, Innovation Manager at City Engineering. She will share her perspectives in relation to the use of massive online open courses to prepare the new workers in the enterprise. Next, we have Tom Hill, Project Manager at Marine Energy Wells. He will bring a view about innovative training programs for the offshore renewable sector. And finally, Andrés Rodríguez is joining us online. Andrés is sales and marketing representative at Marine Instruments, and he will focus on how integrating ocean literacy contents in blended learning can help to attract talent into the sector. Dear panelists, I want to welcome you all to this session. Each of you will have several minutes to briefly introduce yourselves and your company, and then we will have 2 rounds of questions that will be followed by questions from the public. So for the public that is joining us online, please don't hesitate to leave your questions in the chat box. Virginia, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, good morning. Thank you so much for this opportunity of being here today representing Navantia. Navantia is a Spanish state-owned company with more than 300 years of history. On the one hand, it is a reference in the naval vessels construction, in design and constructions of high technological military vessels. And on the other hand, it is a reference too in the offshore wind business, in which we started in 2010. So Navantia is a clear example of how naval construction is in relation with marine energies, as we build the structures and substructures for wind turbine generators and for offshore substations. Well, main shipyards in Navantia are located in Spain, in Ferrol, Cartagena and Cádiz, 3 cities with a long history and tradition. These cities grew around the shipyards. The inhabitants of the cities are proud of the shipyards. That's why Navantia has been always very involved in the training, because a lot of students in these cities want to be workers of Navantia in the future. So different programs have been developed during the last years. The most important one has been the collaboration with the vocational training centers, vocational and educational training centers, in which this collaboration Navantia started in 2016 with the Center Ferrolterra near Navantia, Ferrol shipyard. Well, the main principle of this collaboration is that students of today can become the workers of tomorrow. So with this type of trainings that are called dual trainings, the students can have practices in the enterprise during some years, combining the theoretical studies. Navantia has participated to and is member of the Pact of Skills. Now we belong to the assets, that is a strategic collaboration for training in defense. It's focused in robotics and cybersecurity. And Navantia is part of the consortium of this strategic alliance. So, well, regarding MATES, this project we have had 2 different experiences. One is called Freeboard and the other is Magnus effect. So, well, the objective of Freeboard, as is presented, is providing a naval work environment for students. The main purpose is simulate a real shipyard. The students can face directly conditions in the shipyard. Well, the name is because freeboard comes from a naval terminology, and means the distance from the waterline to the upper deck level on a boat. Well, what we did is building a real scale part of a ship's hull, a block, what we say in naval terminology, a block. Here are some drawings, some design drawings that the students use for the building of this block in real scale. Well, the process is called block assembly process, and as I was telling before, simulates a real environment in a shipyard. So the students can have seen how a block assembly is is done. Well, here in YouTube, we have some videos in which you can see more the experience. Well, the project has been a success in press, in the newspapers. In Spanish, you can say that is well, a small shipyard in the classes. And now, well, this has been our first pilot, and now we are working in the following steps: pipes, valves, and trying to progress in this block, in this first pilot. Well, we started with the pandemic, so progress has been slower as we expected, but our idea is continue with the following steps. And the conclusion is that the experience is really successful, and is students can face real conditions of the shipyard, and they can be prepared in a better way for the future labor work. And the other, I don't know if I have time, the other project is the Magnus effect. That is another presentation. Sorry for this. Well, while the presentation is prepared, I can say that, well, Navantia is really involved in general in training, because, for example, last year we inaugurated the Navantia Training Center in San Fernando that is more focused for the training in defense. Nowadays, for example, the navies of some programs have been trained there. But it's a center focused for more type of trainings as talkative or informative talkings. Navantia is in continuous commitment with the training, and not only for young people, or always for the workers, personal staff. Oh, sorry, here is the other presentation. This is the Magnus effect. Well, the Magnus effect was the building of a jacket. The jacket is the substructures for the wind turbines generators. And here are some photos only with the practices in the center. This was developed with the center called Someso in La Coruña, and you can see here real photos of practices and the students working on them. This is an example of the hand-on methodology. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Virginia. And sorry for the technical problems. I want to welcome you, Laura. You can take the floor and explain us about city engineering.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks all for being here. Thanks for giving me this opportunity as well. I'll be a bit more brief than Virginia, and I hope I'm not too brief. I'm Laura Alonso. I'm a naval architect. I studied in Ferrol, and I'm specialized in integrated logistics support, known as ILS, and that's a discipline that's mainly applicable to the military sector, but not only. And I'm now the innovation manager of City in Ferrol. The City Engineering Group is a Spanish engineering company, but we are present in several countries, mainly in Europe. And we are involved in all sectors in all engineering sectors. But in Ferrol, we're specialized in shipbuilding and naval, as well as in all kinds of industrial plants. With this, we are continuously involved in all kinds of state-of-the-art projects, from pure naval to oil and gas, coming through all kinds of civil shipbuilding projects and even offshore renewable energies. And we do strongly believe in innovation, starting from educational and training related innovation. We've been actively and intensively involved in dual vet programs and providing internships for vet students and engineering students. And this allowed us to identify some industrial needs, some skill gaps. And that's why, together with the University of A Coruña, we wanted to address that common problem of the mismatch or misalignment of the skills that are actually or can be acquired through regulated education and the actual industrial needs. So we developed 2 MOOCs, Center on Shipbuilding and Industry 4.0, applied to shipbuilding or naval matters. And we were hoping, expecting that they could help shorten that skill gap, or shorten as well the times we need or we use at the companies to train people that's entering the sector, or that's changing from one discipline to one another in the same company. And that's essentially my presentation. But I guess we can have a debate later.
Thank you, Laura. Tom, please, can you join us and explain more about marine energy wells? Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, my name is Tom Hill from Marine Energy Wales. There should be some slides as well. Anyway, for those that don't know, Marine Energy Wales is a 75-strong sort of membership organisation aiming to a sort of mix of developers, academics, industry, supply chain, and it's sort of a networking organisation. There we go. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, we bring together, like I said, technology developers, supply chain, academia, and the public to establish Wales, the sort of a very small country, as the global leader in sustainable marine energy. And we're obviously trying to make a significant contribution to low carbon economy. So we are publicly funded by the Welsh Government, and we've got some key priority areas. Obviously sector engagement, sector development, but obviously you can see the one I've highlighted there. We have a big education, skills, training network as well. Go to the next slide. So what do Marine Energy do? Marine Energy Wales do for education. So we've developed something called the Coastal Curriculum, educating young people about the pressures around the coast and seas. And the aim is basically to inspire people, unlock the interest in possibility of recycle local careers, and a lot of those careers will be in marine renewables. With such a wide resource in Wales, we need to move away from the oil and gas, which is strong in Wales at the moment, and get towards marine energy. Our education manager, Tim, leads up on this. So how do we get involved with mates? So we were some of the experts. We got involved in the courses and the guidance for some of the material, but we also used Work Package 2, the strategy baselines. We found this a really useful report. We presented it to local colleges who used it to map a careers pipeline, and as a result they also put on new courses, sort of working at heights, health and safety courses. That was a direct result of that report. And we also presented it to the Careers Wales, which is a Welsh Government independent organisation that helps guide careers through Wales. And I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. And next we have Andrés that is joining us online. Flor, can you help him also presenting his slides? The floor is yours, Andrés.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be there. Thank you for the invitation. So we Marine Instruments, we are world leader in the development and manufacture of high technology adapted to the marine environment and focus on promoting smart and sustainable fishing. We like to say here that we imagine and we manufacture solutions for smart and sustainable oceans. We are a company located in Galicia, in the northwest of Spain, focused on innovation with an excellent positioning in the fishing sector, thanks to being part of Grupo Arbulu, a group of companies specialized in naval electronics and satellite communications. In recent years, and thanks to a strong diversification strategy, we have entered other vertical markets such as agriculture or security and defense. Since our beginnings in 2003, we have experienced constant growth, positioning ourselves in less than 10 years as the leading manufacturer of satellite tuna buoys worldwide, with a presence in more than 30 countries. For fishing, we have been developing solutions for efficient and sustainable fishing. All of our products save fuel and reduce the carbon footprint in the ocean. We use technology and innovation to highly optimize fishing operations. All our products, including satellite buoys or for tuna fishing, radio buoys for long line fishing, oceanographic software to improve fishing efficiency, and electronic monitoring solutions. Many of these technological levers we use for the development of these products have a positive impact on the society around us. For example, in projects to control accidental spills, where we have designed buoys that predict the pollutant, also, all our services and products are associated with training programs for users, basically for fishermen associations. So we're trying to change the paradigms and the way professionals approach the sea. So in Marine Instruments, we are very committed to the protection and conservation of the oceans through the responsibility and sustainable management of natural resources. Our commitment extends to many of the sustainable development goals set in 2030 agenda. So we like to say that we cover the 3 dimensions of sustainable development: the economic growth, the social inclusion, and the protection of the environment. As part of this strategy, we work in the promotion of STEAM among youngsters. So we organize every year a Regatta Solar. This is an annual raft building competition addressed at secondary school students and their teachers. Team entering the regatta have to build a radio-controlled electronic vehicle powered only by solar energy. This happens in Galicia, in the touristic village of Bayona. There are 3 prizes based on the efficiency, performance, and design. And finally, this year, from February, we have created the incubation lab by Marine Instruments division. This is a seabed of ideas to which many students that they are studying at the University of Vigo have been incorporated, being a space for the promotion of junior STEAM talent with high visibility in our local community. Thank you. I think that now we can watch the video. There are almost 50 schools from Galicia and also from the rest of Spain. In total, about 200 people participating every year. Is such a party in in the city of Bayona, and the most important is that it includes all the families, children, teenagers. Of course, we need a sunny day, but we can make miracles. Yeah, basically, this is the Regatta Solar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrés. Indeed, it looks amazing. Hope the next edition will be as sunny as it was.
Yeah, it will be on June, the 20th of June this year.
All right. Thank you, Andrés. Thank you all for the introductions. We will start with the first round of questions. Virginia, Navantia has been engaged in the organization of the dual trainings since 2016, been one of the first enterprises promoting this training approach, in which students, they go to the training centers for some periods, and then they also combine it with some periods of internships at the industry. With the MACE project, you have been involved in the Freeboard and the Magnus Effect pilot experiences, and you have gone farther on your work-based learning approach, simulating a workspace environment at the training center.
Yes.
In what sense does a proposal of this type make it possible to better prepare future workers?
Well, as I was talking before, we think that this type of training promotes the hands-on methodology, which the students can live and can work in a real environment, so they can understand in a better way the future problems that they can have in a real environment. So we promote this type of training, and we encourage all the vocational and educational training centers to continue with this type of collaborations, because in this type of industry, we understand that this is really a success.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Virginia. Indeed, it's important for the company, I guess, to have workers ready to work with all the skills at hand already. Laura, I have a question for you. The city engineering group has been involved in several state-of-the-art projects and related to the shipbuilding and naval sectors, as you mentioned. With the MATES project, you have gone further in your involvement for educational transformation, creating courses for skills development. And also you're contributing to upgrade the traditional shipbuilding tools to Industry 4.0 level. How MOOC, a massive online open course, contributes to professional development and lifelong learning opportunities?
In this MOOCs that we have developed helps us a lot in upskilling or reskilling the force of our own staff. We will be using them at CT at some of our sites, and we will be starting from Cartagena and Cádiz, since we have those sites there, same as Navantia. They are places so related to the shipbuilding industry, and we will start there, but we hope to be using these MOOCs with some other of our offices. And in fact, these MOOCs have proven and are still proving that are a very good tool and very helpful for professionals that are transitioning from one of our disciplines to another. And we have a pretty good example with one of our colleagues. She participated in the development of the first of the MOOCs because of her knowledge of shipbuilding practices, or as you want to say. And now she has just taken the second of the MOOCs to join the ILS team. She's not the only one. Some more of the colleagues are coming from different disciplines like naval architecture, structural engineering, also have taken this course to join the ILS team. And this is really helpful for us because it allows us to reskill people and retain talent, and it makes us more flexible as a company when it comes to face the market fluctuations.
Thank you, Laura. Indeed, not only upskilling, reskilling, also helping the transition of the company workers. Thank you. Tom, marine energy wells. It brings together technology developers, academia, the supply chain, the public sector to establish wells as a global leader in sustainable marine energy generation. As part of your activities, you contribute to develop educational materials for youngsters. With the MATES project, you have gone further in this, and you have been involved in capacity building processes. You have been involved as experts in the skills analysis for the MATES project, and also contributed in the definition of contents for the offshore renewable energy courses. In what sense has this experience contributed to support your activity aimed at promoting a better skilled marine energy industry? And next, what are the main challenges in this process?
Yeah, you're right. So also the MATES program has really helped us develop our resources. It's helped us know where the skills gaps are, specifically with that sort of report I mentioned earlier. And we were able to present that report to local colleges and obviously the Welsh Government as well, so that we can basically give the findings up the chain, and hopefully the government will listen then. With us, I guess challenges, the second part of the question, is the way sort of colleges are funded in Wales and the UK as well. So the training is shaped by the students. So the students, if they don't take the courses, then the courses get dropped and there's no funding for the courses. So the industry may be crying out for certain engineers or certain project managers. If the students aren't engaged to take those courses, then they don't run. Sort of an example would be, so we train in the college there as 1,500 hairdressers every year, which is great. Obviously, everyone needs their haircut, and it's a great profession. But is it what the industry needs? And so yes, Green Energy Wales try and combat this. We go into schools at a lower level. We try and excite students in science and technology, and obviously, all the STEM subjects. Make sure that they know the pathways and pick the right courses and go on to careers in the marine renewables.
Great. I think that's the point of transmitting the needs, also the other way around, from companies to the youngsters and people finishing school. Thanks, Tom. Andrés, Marine Instruments has been very active in the promotion of science, technology, engineering, the arts and mathematics among youngsters. So this Regata Solar that you were talking about is celebrating its 5th edition already and has a lot of people following it. How a proposal of this type contributes to make more popular the STEAM at secondary school?
Well, the Regata Solar promotes challenge-based learning. All the participants dedicate their own time to develop their projects in school, at home. Basically, they are attracted by the project. They are being able to build a remote controlled raft, making it navigate and participate in a regatta is in itself a fantastic reward. The day of the regatta, in summertime, all participants are the protagonists of a very popular event here that take place in their homes, in their village. So they feel interested in preparing a very good project. When a group of teenagers is interested in something, they can dedicate enormous amount of energy and time, which is very important to develop their project. and this includes science, technology, energy, engineering, sorry, and even arts to create a very beautiful boat.
Thank you, Andres. Thanks. Indeed, I see, when I see the video, I can imagine also how passionate are those students building up the rafts and making them put it on the sea. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Virginia, I'll go back with you again. From Navantia's point of view, how these experiences in which you join efforts with vocational education and training centers are impacting in the qualification of your future workers?
Well, Navantia is a driving force in these regions, in the role as I was explaining. Since we started these collaborations in 2016, more than 100 of the students have passed these classes. And well, in this first program, 12 students achieved a position for the sums of opposition to start with the program. So it is understood that the education that they have received is very focused in the future works in Antía, and in general, not only with this type of programs, dual trainings, as I explained during the presentation, we inaugurated last year the Navantia Training Center in San Fernando. It's a center to have a reference in training in defense, more focused in defense, not only in offshore wind. And in these type of centers, some trainings, for example, some informative talkings for schools, for institutes, can be done, and we understand that they will be oriented to this type of works.
Great initiatives. Thank you. Thank you, Virginia. With the MATES project, City Engineering has also designed and implemented innovative courses oriented to fill the gap between what is taught at universities or VET centers and what is needed in the industry regarding Industry 4.0 and the shipbuilding sector. From your point of view, what is the contribution of the MOOCS in terms of joint efforts between universities or VET centers and the industry?
Well, particularly for us, the development of these MOOCs together with the University of Coruña gave us a great outcome. That is the building of a trust relationship that was already existing, but it got reinforced, really reinforced, and that's a relationship that will last and is lasting longer than the project, and that's the best of the basis for further and very fruitful collaborations. And on the other hand, we have to emphasize that point of the MOOCs that allow us to implement so quick innovative content. We have to bear in mind, if we want to include any kind of innovative content, by including it into the official curricula of universities or VET centers or any kind of training center, it would take quite a lot of time. And if we as a company or any center, training center, university, high school, anything, if we develop a MOOC, if we create a MOOC, we just have to take it and use it. Then we'll have that innovative content ready to be used and to be implemented.
Great. Thank you, Laura. Tom, regarding the educational materials produced during the Offshore Renewable Energy courses, what are the main features of these materials that you would like to highlight?
I mean, yeah, the materials are great. They're incredibly interactive, and the chance that students get to spend with real experts is a real opportunity for students to ask questions as well. The overall sort of content, yeah, it's great, and obviously the fact that you're industry experience. I would say that sort of it highlights the importance of the environment in projects, maybe something that's missed, especially in those who sort of environmental impact assessment process. which is a big part of the project, and it might not be something that everyone's aware of. And definitely as well, the materials address project management skills. Again, it's definitely a skill shortage within the UK and Wales, and the fact that this starts the ball rolling, gets people interested, and goes through the processes involved with green renewable energy projects is it's really good to highlight.
Great. And if I ask you about future improvement of these materials, what would you suggest? What is you recommend us for future edition of this course?
I mean, the materials, they're quite targeted at sort of academics. So I guess, yeah, obviously not everyone who might need to look at materials will be coming from a sort of academic background. You know, you've got people sort of welders, fitters, all sorts of things, right? So yeah, materials across the whole landscape of sort of industry that's out there. Yeah, so I guess that's the main one I'd say. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks again. Andrés, with the MATES project, Marine Instruments has gone further in the activities of the regatta and also organized a series of workshops to better prepare participants in priorities management and techniques for designing and building their own rafts and the remote control. From your point of view, how this experience in which you join efforts with more partners contribute to improve the experience?
Yeah, thank you. I think that I really think the partners are the key of the project. Thanks to our partners, we have at our disposal qualified training for students and teachers. Our first edition in 2020 allowed to identify the most relevant contents to support the participants, not only in terms of STEAM knowledge, but also to organize the groups and learn on building techniques. Furthermore, the video tutorials edited by our partners will allow us to use the trainings in future editions. Also, thanks to the partners, we can go beyond the objective of the regatta, and the students, they have the opportunity to tackle different topics and possibilities such as polyester modeling, the use of bamboo, electronics, or radio control and telemetry. This is also completed with a training in priority management. This is one of the transversal capacities considered more relevant to improve the organization of the groups in this project. Finally, in line with a sustainable approach, and also as a result of the preparation of these courses, the terms of reference for the Regatta Solar have included in the last edition, so in this edition, rewarding for those projects reducing the environmental impact. This is new, and yeah, I repeat that working with partners has been the key for this project.
Thank you. Indeed, you mentioned again those transversal skills that are needed more and more for the maritime professionals and workers, and it's what MATES was focusing on as well. I would like to thank you, all the panelists, for your contributions to this first panel. It has been a pleasure to hear all your successful experiences with the MATES project and all your insights. And I guess people here in the public, they have some questions. The floor is open, and people online also, please leave your message.
I will break the ice. It's working. I will break the ice because I have been hearing how the experience of networking has been had a positive effect. I guess that something that is also being appearing is like a cascade effect. When and I am looking at Virginia because this is something that is not so new for Navarra, because I guess you are forerunners in many of these innovations in training, not only in training, but but at least in what we are speaking. But finally, you are not the only end users. When you start a dual vet training, some students go to Navantia, but not all of them. And if you could maybe tell us a little bit about this tractor effect that you are doing in the region, and how this type of experience can bring more partners to promote these innovative approaches.
Well, Navantia is a reference in the world.
Naval construction vessels world and now in offshore wind too. The training is part of our scope in all the projects that we execute. As you say, not all the students that are in this type of dual trainings work finally in Navantia, but they acquire all the capacities and skills for other type of industries. We are talking that, as I explained, the city of Ferrol grew around the shipyard. Okay, so that type of minds focus in the industrial works are in general really common in the society. So, well, the students that don't continue in Navantia will have this knowledge and these capacities for the other similar industries. Galicia in general is an industrial world, as Cartagena and Cádiz. I would like to say that the dual trainings started in Ferrol with Ferrolterra and with in La Coruña with Someso, but in Cartagena and Cádiz, new dual trainings are planned, and some programs have been executed too, but well, I only talked about Galicia area. Training is part of the company and is one of our main principles.
Tim de Brie from Ghent University. I have a question on MOOCS actually. So MOOCS stand for Massive Open Online Courses, so massive. Question related to that is, okay, how many people have participated in them? What is the cost structure behind them in order to provide them on the longer term if they open? I think this is a challenge for people that organize MOOCs as well. And then the third question is related to the thing on integrating them in university programs. Yeah. What are the quality assurance mechanisms that you have included as well to make sure? Like, because if I want to include them in my program, then I need to show that there is a quality body that checks actually whether the learning outcomes are reached, etc., etc. So, how do you deal with these aspects to make sure that it's not just another online course that is made somewhere and that is not used in yet?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay.
Exactly. And also the role of work-based learning. So in the MOOCs, how to integrate them at university, by the way, perhaps also at that institution. And then,
sorry, the role.
Training institution.
Yeah, but you. So, sorry, can you repeat? I didn't quite get you. I'm sorry. Yeah. Related to that.
Asked how to integrate these MOOCs in university courses. I would extend that to vocational
training. Yeah.
And in that context, also how to enrich it with elements of work-based learning.
Okay. Well, starting from the first of the points, how many people have been involved so far? Right now, I guess around 600 from now 9 countries. But we expect it to be much more. Only at City, we are around 2,000 people working. So we have still a very wide range to grow. And of course, not all of our colleagues would be taking the course, but we believe we've developed these 2 MOOCs now. This is so, this is a very adaptable platform. You can develop a MOOC in any related to any topic that you want. It is so flexible. And about the cost, it depends. It depends. It depends on which quality you want to achieve in terms of video quality, in terms of how much, well, how long you want to make the MOOC in terms of time, in terms of minutes or hours, in terms of if you pay actors to film it, in terms of if you already have all the knowledge, or how many time do you dedicate to develop all the content to film the MOOC. Regarding the quality or the implementation at universities or vocational training centers, this time with this pilot experience, we just launched them. It is a pilot experience, so we didn't include it in the official curricula. That's what made them flexible and quick to implement. And I don't know if our colleagues from the university would have anything to say on how to implement it. Vicente, Lucía, would you be able to respond to?
Okay, hello. So my name is Lucía. Regarding how we evaluate the students, well, we use for the first MOOC, we use the platform MediaDex. So this platform offers 3 ways of evaluate the students and recognize the learning outcomes. One is digital badges. The second one is a certificate of attendance that registers the attendance of the student to this MOOC. And the last one, that is the one that has recognition, is the certificate of completion that provides all the data about the course and the student. So this is the certificate that it's useful for the curriculum of the students. And at European level, these 3 is the only ones that can be used for recognize the learning outcomes of MOOCs. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Do someone has another question or comment, suggestions? Susana?
Yes, good morning. It's more of a comment because we can go on and on about, dealing and delving into the particulars and the advantages of the pilot cases that you tested, and that you will see them for application later on in these 2 industries. And what I retain myself, basically, 2 things. What I retain most is that there is a dire need to have hands-on experience, so to combine training, educational, let's say, academic progress or vocational training with hands-on practical apprenticeships, internships, experience on the job, so that you can apply the theory of the industry into the everyday practice. And this is a takeaway message for any training course and any training solution everywhere across the board, across industries. For these particular industries, offshore renewables, maritime technology, shipbuilding, it is all the more true. We have one traditional one that it is in need of revamping, shipbuilding, and we have a green greener sector, that of offshore renewables, that takes the lead from the traditional oil and gas industry and is in need of upskilling, of reskilling personnel there. And all the value chain that goes with these two industries, of course. So the important takeaway, let's say, conclusion out of this strategy would be that we need indeed to combine both on-the-job training and more theoretical educational training on the basics and on the principles of this. Another thing that I retain is the digital aspect of things, the digital applications through the MOOCS, through any digital solutions that can complement curriculum development, and they can enrich skills like in transversal skills or dedicated skills for this particular industry. So a good combination. Felix tried to put forward the question, and it was in this sense that he put it, a very, let's say, a successful combination of these two factors: online, digital, flexible acquisition of skills and competences combined with hands-on experience in terms of apprenticeships or trainings would need to be there at all times, which means a huge shift towards partnerships between local government-led efforts in terms of training and education, industrial presence and industrial push from the industry itself in the sector to apply and to push for solutions, training solutions, and of course the available labor force in the immediate region in terms of the specialization of this region. If it is much like we heard that Galicia is very much into shipbuilding and maritime technologies, the abundant local workforce that needs to be there and be drawn into this industry. Which brings me to the second observation that I have, and that I have heard from Tom and I have heard from Andrés. It is the ocean literacy part of things. So in Pembrokeshire, for example, in the whole of Wales, because of the strong connection to the ocean, to the sea, because of the traditional industries there that transition now as well, you have a need and you have a field where you can apply on ocean literacy, starting from the very young ages and educating them as to the advantages and the whatever the sea has to offer in terms of jobs, in terms of environmental sustainability, and so on and so forth. If we couple ocean literacy efforts, which I hear and I understood from what you said, that you transitioned from the purely, let's say, educational activities that you would run on an ocean literacy level with local schools, you have transitioned to a skills intelligence, let's say, gathering, and to a skills development aspect of the work that you do. If we can combine these things successfully, we will end up with those knowledgeable, skilled workforce that we need to feed these industries with. So there is a link to be made there, and there is always an aspect to couple these two aspects, to start off by educating and applying, let's say, ocean literacy in younger ages so that they can end up appreciating the sectors, the maritime sectors that are linked to this ocean literacy, let's say, principle. And I would, in that sense, call upon you, both Andrés, because of the character of the project that you run, and Tom, of course, to look into the European Coalition for Ocean Literacy that I am sure you have heard of. We have established across Europe. It is the EU for Ocean Coalition, which aggregates organizations organizations like yours, which aggregates schools like the ones that you're working with into a network of blue schools, which aggregates youth, activist youth in terms of ocean literacy, ocean protection, and scientific development in terms of ocean protection, marine scientists, the future marine scientists, let's say. And I would call upon you to look into and affiliate yourselves with this coalition because of the networking and other effects and the facilitations that you can get from this platform of stakeholders in terms of ocean literacy and the possibilities that you have to develop skilling aspects in maritime technologies or further afield for other sectors of the blue economy. These were my two observations, if you like, to help with the discussion in this panel or in the next when we talk about the application of the actual MATES strategy and its future outlook, how we will go about after the end of the project materially, concretely, with the outcomes and the lessons learned and whatever we got out of our 4 years engagement with this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy, for this comprehensive reflection. Is there someone that wants to ask a question in the public or maybe also online? No? All right.
What does it say after?
All right. Thank you again for joining this panel. Thanks, Andrés, also. Thanks for the public. And next, we have our second panel session that it will be addressing the skills strategy elaborated by the MATES project and moderated by Frederico Ferreira. Thank you.
I'm the moderator for panel 2. My name is Frederico Ferreira. I'm Blue Tech Manager at Fórum Oceano. Fórum Oceano is the Blue Economy Cluster in Portugal, recognized by the Portuguese government since 2009. And we are also members of the MATES project. And as a cluster, we are very concerned or very active also on the theme of skills, because without skills there will be no blue economy, blue growth, and cluster. Sorry. So we have now come to the point to see, as Miguel told in this presentation, and Renato and Lucia, how to transfer the results of the MATES project to outside the consortium and to some partners that could take profit for the work and the results of 4 years. That it's amazing how 4 years passed by since we were here for the first time in Brussels at the kickoff meeting, but a lot of things were achieved, and our goal is that these results will not stay in paper or in a website, but could be taken out by other stakeholders. So we have 3 speakers, three organizations, 2 European, let's say, and 1 region. That is also very important because regions have a very important role also to address the policy and to implement the policies at the ground. So we will start by the 3 speakers present themselves. I believe you all have small presentations, or you can talk about what are your organization and who you are, and then we will have a debate. So I pass the floor to Chiara Stramaccioni from ESCO Secretariat. So the floor is yours, Chiara.
I will ask you for changing slides so I don't make mistakes. Yeah, I tried. Okay, super, thanks. Okay, hello everyone. I'm Chiara Stramaccioni. I work as data analyst for the ESCO classification, which is managed by the European Commission DG Employment. So the ESCO classification, not everyone knows it. Fair. It's the European classification of skills, competencies, occupations. It does also have a qualification part, even though we do not host qualification anymore. It's our sister project, Europass. The classification ESCO is a dictionary. So it really lists and describes all skills and competencies and occupations of the European Union. So it's a good representation of the labor market, and it was built upon 3 main policy goals. So the first one is to encourage intra-European mobility. So what happens is that the classification is in all the European languages, plus Icelandic, Norwegian, and Arabic. This means that every concept that is there is then translated in all the languages. So this is very helpful for workers or students who want to move. So you can describe yourself using your mother tongue, right? Using the description that you have, and then you already have everything translated in another country's language. This is the first point. The second one is to align people's skills with industry needs, because every occupation has a number of optional and essential skills listed. So this means that people can look at the skills that are needed in one specific area and understand whether there is a gap or so on. And then the third point is skills-based labor market services. So I keep hearing skills here. Of course, I hear about it every day. And it's really about the fact that we can help, or in general, all the users of ESCO do use ESCO skills for upskilling, reskilling opportunities, and so on. But this is the structure of ESCO. So first I wanted to show you actually what does it mean. So we have 2 so-called pillars. One is the occupation and the other one is the skills pillar. For occupations, we have about 3,000 occupations, quite more skills. And the skills are also, both of them are based in a structure, so you can go through the different groups. And for the skills, we also distinguish between occupation-specific, sector-specific, cross-sectoral skills, as well as transversal skills, which are, I think, commonly called soft skills, and then languages and knowledge. So yeah, it looks like that. So for everything, you do have a title and then description, alternative titles, and the link between the two. So which occupation for which skill. So here I just wanted to show in three short points how ESCO is used today. So we have a lot of users. It's from public sector and private sector. I put boxes. I know it's very small here, but you can also look in our portal to this information. And so the first one is connect labor markets to education and training system. This is because many training providers use ESCO for looking at the qualification, the learning outcomes, and map them to skills. So then you also have the link from, career pathways from one qualification to occupations. The second, people to jobs, because indeed you can look at job vacancies, which are the skills that are needed, and also who are the job seekers, and match the two, right? And then finally, support the analysis of labor markets data. So again, this is about looking at trends and map them to actually something that is described in a complete way. And now a few words about the work that we have been doing with the MATE colleagues. So what we do in ESCO is that we do have to keep track of the changes in the labor market and update based on that. So add new occupation, new skills, but also revise what is in there. So here, this process applied also with other feedback providers. So Wind Europe also, thank you to you guys for joining in this effort. For the process with MATE, we started with the suggestions from the results of the whole project. So what we got there is that they actually provide us suggestions for new occupations and new skills, or a review of what was already in the classification. Then we as an ESCO team review them based also on the guidelines that we of course have and other feedback. So for example, we were mapping together different feedback from different sides. Then we discuss the improvements, we clarify what has to be clarified, and then we do a final draft. Now the tricky part comes in, because this is all ESCO, we have a validation of these drafts by all European member states. So the Ministry of Labour, Ministry of Education do have their feedback, whether this is representative or not for their member state. After that, when we have the okay, we go through the translation in all these languages, and we have a final round of feedback on the translation by the member states, so whether it's properly translated, and then we go for the publication, which has happened in January. So it was a long process. Yeah, and here I just, to conclude, here are some examples of what we have built together. So thank you again for your efforts. So of the new occupation, new skills, and revised concepts, they are more, but I want just to give you what actually you can search in the portal and have a look at. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chiara, for a very comprehensive presentation of ESCO works and the cooperation with mates. So next I ask Iván Pineda from Wind Europe, Trade Association of Offshore Wind, to present himself and a little presentation of Wind Europe.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's very good to see people face to face after so many years of being isolated. I think the last time that I was with so many people, I was wearing my slippers. So it's very good that we finally are able to meet again. Wind Europe is the trade association representing wind energy across the entire value chain. We're here based in Brussels. Amongst our members, we have offshore wind turbine and onshore wind turbine manufacturers, developers, but also shipyards. Antía is a member of Wind Europe. And we have consultancies, universities, research institutes, as well as consultancies, banks, financiers, entire value chain of wind energy. I was asked to try to land a little bit more the experiences of the project and the recommendations into what our industry believes is going to apply those recommendations. And I want to give you a little bit of also tour around what is offshore wind today in Europe, if the slides work. So there are around 28 gigawatts of offshore wind installed in Europe. This is not a big amount of capacity today. It provides around 3% of the electricity that we consume, all of us in Europe. The expectation is that, as we heard from Mrs. Strachinescu at the very beginning of the presentation of the opening of the panel, is that it can provide up to 25%, up to a quarter of all the electricity that we consume. Now, the current crisis will call for even accelerate that and probably going further that number as we try to get out of unsustainable fuels that we import from elsewhere. How does that relate to the economic impact that the industry is having? Well, offshore wind in particular contributes around 7.5 billion euros every year to the EU economy. That includes obviously job generation, that includes all the aspects that skills will provide, but also all the economic output that is poured onto the economy. To make that simple, we made a equivalence of what does that mean. So every offshore wind turbine on average contributes to 15 million euros to the EU economy. So every single time that we put out there at sea a wind turbine, 15 million euros to the EU economy. That is also translated into jobs. There are 77,000 jobs currently in Europe. That includes the UK and Norway. Also, we heard from the European Commission about 50,000 in the EU 27. But we expect that this will grow up to 200,000 in 2030 with the expected growth of wind offshore. And we will generate those jobs across different functions. Importantly, a lot of the work actually is generated in manufacturing. So developing those machines is part of also the skills that we will need. Is manufacturing skills is not only related to how we install them, which is a little bit, sometimes the focus of a lot of the policies, how we're going to get these turbines off sea. It's very important that if we want to keep those turbines being manufactured in Europe, the skills that we provide for manufacturing engineering, robotics, automation, sensors are also in place so that we continue having engineers, we continue having high-level technicians in Europe. And what I want to call your attention is that the direct jobs that are created in offshore wind are almost on the same ratio that the indirect jobs. So that means all the other jobs that are attached to the generation of or the installation and manufacturing of wind turbines are also this tractor effect, spillover effect of indirect economic impact, and indirect job creation also is almost in the same proportion. So that means when you go and want to install a wind turbine off in sea, well, you go and you host in a hotel, you go and you eat, you go and you hire transport. Those are indirect jobs that are also a consequences of the economic activity of our industry. To 2030, as I mentioned, we expect that we will almost triple the amount of jobs. And this is the second element that I want to call your attention. Europe wants 300 gigawatts of offshore wind from 28 that we have. Okay, so that's almost increasing, 5 times. However, the number of jobs and the number of skills that actually we need is not going to be 5 times more. So the increase of jobs is not one-to-one when it comes to the development of the capacity. And that's why, because there are elements of economies of scale and there are elements of efficiency, and these are another element that we need to consider when we develop the skills. You don't need one-to-one engineers for the next turbine or the next wind farm that you are going to install. So the same engineer that installed the previous one can actually do the next one, and probably the next 3 or 4 one until he or she retires. So those elements of accounting are going to be very important when we project in the future in the skills intelligence that you are gathering. What is the demand that we are going to get out of this? And we have seen over and over again studies that, for good reasons, will magnify the amount of skills that we need. But in reality, we also work on an efficiency that we will not hire the same amount of people to build 5 times more capacity. That's an element that I wanted to discuss today. Now, I like, there was an element that says, well, the investment in, the investment in skills will go proportionate to the investment also that are happening in industry. And I want to bring an example, which is ports. Ports are going to be extremely important in the development of offshore wind, not only because of the direct element of having the operation and maintenance of offshore wind farms directly next to the port. But as we move forward, there will become actually the manufacturing sites for a lot of the wind turbines. Think about what we call floating offshore wind. Those turbines that are not attached to the seabed, to the bottom of the sea, but because it's very depth in the Atlantic or in the Mediterranean, we'll be manufacturing the big floating substructures at the port. These are, to give you an idea, and when we tell people a floating substructure, imagine the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, okay? That's the size of a floating substructure. And then on top of that, you will put a Tower Eiffel. That's as big as it is, okay? And you will need probably 30 or 35 of those laying down in your port if you're gonna make a commercial offshore floating turbine farm, sorry. So we're talking about huge infrastructure here, big machines. So we need a lot of space in ports. And interestingly, in the future also, I believe that ports are wanting to actually host hydrogen production because they will have the offshore wind turbines, they will be able to create it. So think about also the skills that will be needed for chemical engineers that will be on site in a port, manufacturing, producing renewable hydrogen in the future. And as I mentioned, we calculated how much investment we needed, for example, to make these ports by far more reliable. And you can see here the space that actually you will need. I mean, this is the type of investments for expanding the area, the surface area that ports will have if you want to install offshore wind turbines at sea. And we have estimated that in order to get to the targets of 2030, that's about 110, 120 gigawatts of offshore wind. It will require about 6.5 billion euros of investment in European ports to actually get there. And that includes not only the expansion of the land, but also having new quays that are deeper, for heavier infrastructure. There's a lot of reinforcement on the ground. These machines are very heavy. So we are talking about a significant investment here. And I really want, I mean, I think Miguel said at the very beginning, I mean, this is my last message. The investment in skill will go hand in hand in the investment with the industry. And this is a very good example of how it will go. To the extent that we invest in industrial capacity in Europe is to the extent that actually industry will be able to invest back a lot of these skills. I'll leave it there, and then we can talk about in the panel about other aspects. We have put out there in the website of Wind Europe a new section. It is called Learn Wind, that also has certain educational resources, a little bit more light-hearted than industrial aspects of wind energy, but very much focused on learning for young kids, but as well as having certain number of books, educational books that are also translated into many languages. And the latest one that we have done, last slide, please. The latest one that we have done is we have developed a training course with a Belgian secondary school here in Brussels, where we teach children to manufacture small wind turbines. And also we bring some of our CEOs in the industry to be grilled by little children, asking them difficult questions that probably not even myself are able to ask. And the videos are very funny if you want to watch them online. They're very funny. The last book that I wanted to show you is also available online. Is an interview of renewable industry leaders that count their experiences about why they want to get into renewable. This is more inspirational rather than educational, but this is also part of bringing new generations into wind energy. And we have people from the same wind industry, but also people from Microsoft, Google, the European Investment Bank, etc., that they are being interviewed. And it's very interesting. It's free to download also in our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. It's as a cluster, I also find very interesting, and we are very also in this line of attracting young people, and this is a very good way to do it, and to show them new careers and new perspectives of what can be the blue economy as a whole, and in your case, the offshore wind. That, as you know, for Portugal is also a sector that is giving some boost. So next presenter will be Zeltia Lado, Zeltia? No, Zeltia. Zeltia. From the Galicia, Director General of Training of the Junta da Galicia.
Feeding.
Hello, everyone. Allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Antía Guillén, Deputy Director of Training for Employment, and I am accompanied by Zeltia Lago, General Director of Training for Employment of Regional Ministry of Employment and Gender Equality of the Galician Regional Government. First of all, we want to thank you for the opportunity to participate in this forum. It seems to us a very interesting initiative and closely related to the initiatives that we are developing in the regional ministry. Taking advantage of the opportunity that this event offers and in line with the purposes of the MATES project, it is important to align the initiatives of the different agents that we are working on to overcome the current existing barriers related to the lack of training of human resources in the labor market. In Regional Ministry of Employment and Gender Equality, we are developing lines of work that aim to respond to the training needs that labor market requires. The first project that has been carried out by us consists of a study of emerging technologies for the transformation of employment, where 15 economic sectors were analyzed. The general purpose of this study was to prepare a proposal of professional qualifications that will be necessary to face future jobs, thus anticipating the future training requirements that will be demanded by labor market in Galicia. This detection and analysis was based on the implementation of 14 emerging technologies applied to a total of 15 sectors, including renewable energy and shipbuilding sectors, whose main challenges are the digitalization of processes. In fact, according to this study, one of the positions that may be at risk of disappearing are operators without digital skills. And in the next year, the most demanded positions will be those related to technological transformation in manufacturing and in installation or maintenance processes. The second project that we want to present to you is the Galician Skills Agenda for Employment that was presented last November. This Galician Skills Agenda for Employment is based on a transposition of the principles of the European Skills Agenda, but adapted to the Galician reality. The objective is to adapt the training offer promoted by us from the public administration to the training needs of industrial fabric. The methodology used consists of the design of 9 working groups from different sectors: vulnerable groups, construction, blue economy, green economy, silver economy, car and aerial, logistics, tourism, hospitality and commerce, and digital economy. These work groups will include representatives of sectorial associations and clusters, trade unions, business associations, freelancer and social economic companies, knowledge centers, and the Spanish Confederation of Training Companies. All of them key agents for this strategy. Work groups design and the selection of the interlocutors have already been defined. At present, a questionnaire based on the European ESCO classification has been set to each of them, so that based on the skills required by the agents, the training action demanded can be defined. The results obtained in these questionnaires are being analyzed, and during the month of April, work groups will be held to draw up a list of the most relevant training actions. At the Blue Economy Work Group, the training needs of the fishing, naval, marine renewable energy, and mechanical metal sectors linked to the sea are being analyzed. We intend to make use of the enormous knowledge of training needs that these agents have, what will allow us to prepare a catalogue that lists the training programs promoted by the General Directorate of Training of Xunta de Galicia. The MATES project allows us to confirm that training for employment is essential to be able to promote emerging sectors with great projection in economic terms and employability. In addition, the collaboration of public and private sectors produces a multiplying effect on the quality of the results obtained. The results of MATE not only provide invaluable added value to the Galician Agenda for Skills for Employment at the Blue Economy Work Group, but also exemplify the advantages of collaboration, so that training for employment can really be adjusted to the needs of fabric productive. The training needs detected within the MATES project for the shipbuilding and offshore wind sectors will be included directly in our Galician Skills Agenda for Employment. This will not only imply the visibility of the work carried out, but it will also mean inclusion in a program that will be financed by the European Social Fund Plus for its implementation in the 21-27 period, with a budget of 7.5 million euros. In 22, within the projects financed with the recovery and resilience mechanism that we are implementing, there are a series of agreements with the most representative clusters so that they provide short-term non-formal training between 30 and 60 hours, and that are referenced in the National Catalogue of Professional Qualifications. These upskilling and reskilling training agreements are going to be signed, among others, with the clusters of the naval sector and renewable energies in Galicia. The training that they are going to impart has been selected and designed by the clusters themselves, and we hope that will be the beginning of a co-governance model in which all the agents involved work to improve training for employment. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. So let's have now a debate. You already cover a lot of aspects, and it's very interesting, the different perspectives. We started with a perspective of collecting all the new professions and new occupations that could be out there. Then we had the focus of one of the industries that MATES is facing, and then we have the implementation, or how this could be implemented in a region, and with the support of the regional government, but involving all the stakeholders and the clusters and the industry and the academia. So one of the things, Chiara, you talk about MATES, but and we have representatives of the Commission here. So you already said and show how the MATES and ESCO interact with each other to provide you new, let's say, occupations for your dictionary or your broad dictionary. But can you give a perspective how other blueprint projects and stakeholders of these projects are contributing for the process of enlarging ESCO and comprehensive dictionary on occupations?
Of course.
It's not working.
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah.
No.
Is it? Okay. Super. Okay,
Okay.
sure. Yeah, so blueprint projects are actually very useful for us because you guys do spend time understanding the changes in a specific sector. So it's great for us to receive inputs in terms of occupations and skills that are specific to innovation in one sector, or even just reviewing. So sometimes it's important that who is expert on one field is really spending time making something that is a bit, how to say, reusable or transversal, right? Once is in a dictionary, then can be used by many people. But if you are just working at a local level and not sharing it, then it stays a bit a local level sometimes. Now we are proceeding with other blueprint projects as well. So what we do now is that we are trying as much as possible to get closer to the blueprints, in the sense of being able to understand the text they send to us. So sometimes we receive these big reports, which is great, but it's a lot of stuff to process, thinking about all the sectors, right, in the European and many countries. So we are working now on machine learning technologies to analyze these reports and extract what could be used for us, or also just look at what is sent as input and see whether it's already in the classification, just maybe rephrased. So the idea is that already we have started with actually the cultural heritage sector. We do receive import, and we can help them mapping better to ESCO, and then you can really say what is actually different or what is new using these technologies. And yeah, in general, I think the outcomes afterwards are, like for example, for the case of MATES, now that it's published, the blueprints can say, we have an example of what he's using for surveys, but we do have many examples. I also did a presentation a couple of months ago for the maritime sector, for another survey for students to understand how to best use the skills that they learn at school in the maritime sector. But we do have also just HR companies doing reskilling, right? So you do have the workers who have to change, maybe to switch to the offshore, and you learn what are the skills missing. So the blueprint work is the base of that.
Okay, thank you, Chiara. But taking these last words, maybe for Iván, also your interaction with ESCO and the importance of that for the industry.
Yeah, we had a couple of interesting discussions with Chiara in the process of the classifications, particularly when it comes to getting right descriptions on aspects such as health and safety. So the training of workers at sea for wind energy sometimes is very much focused on the fundamentals of marine technology and or ocean literacy. But out there is a little bit dangerous, if I'm honest with you. And one of the important aspects is how we create a culture of health and safety also. And we had some interesting conversations of how technicians also need to include those skills, obviously, in their qualifications, which is an entirely different world also when it comes to the next level, which is not only qualified, but certifying. And this is one of the key things that, for example, we are addressing with the European Commission, the certification of these workers so that they can be transferred from one market to the other. If I have a Polish technician that wants to go and work in Denmark, giving service to offshore wind turbines, he will go there and do the service for 1 day in an offshore wind farm, but he needs to spend 1 week recertifying his skills in order to work in Denmark. So this is a big issue, and we hope that with the classification of the skills that the ESCO is doing, and also with the work that we are trying to provide with partners like the MATES project, we're able to get this type of down-to-earth barriers overcome. Let me give you another example that it's often cited by our industry. When you go out there at sea on an offshore vessel and you want to transfer from the vessel to the wind turbine, there are countries that they consider the wind turbine a fixed structure, a building, and there are countries that they consider that it's not a building, it's a machine. So how to train people to transfer from a moving object that is a vessel to a machine, or how to train people to transfer from a moving vessel to a building? And the trainings and the qualifications from each of these are different. So we have these type of problems that when we map out the qualifications, the requirements, and the certification for these workers to go from one place to another, they're different. But now the biggest challenge that we are facing when it comes to skills probably is not only the curricula and the certification, but actually is hiring people. And you will say, well, why? You don't find enough people? Well, no, actually it's the contrary. We don't have enough projects. So we cannot hire the people that we want to train, because you saw that there is a lot of people that actually is hired when we install projects. Well, right now we cannot install because we have a huge delay in permitting. So permitting is becoming a big issue for advancing renewables. And there was a very nice slide with these balls that they hit one another. Well, that's exactly what is happening. Delays in permitting are delaying in recruiting, delay in recruiting is delaying in skills, progressing, et cetera, et cetera. So delaying investments, et cetera. So permitting at the moment is the biggest roadblock that we have to progress our projects.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. And you deal with one of the things that MATES also identify, the health and safety requirements and the different of regulations around and the need of harmonization, and also the fact that in the last part of your presentation, the scale that you need, so and the investment that will also provide the skills for the sector and the need of projects to hire the right people. So thank you very much for your intervention. Maybe now for the Galicia, maybe you could highlight what from the MATES results and in this interaction with your agenda, what would you highlight from the MATES project in this process for the blue economy, I believe, workshop? And blue economy, as I know, is broader than these two sectors, yeah. But I think you are working with the stakeholders of the Galician region, and you have a huge industry in shipbuilding. And so, what is the importance of our results for your agenda?
For our agenda, we think that MATES results is really important. For example, like says Chiara, the EXCO system, EXCO dictionary, permit us to sit down with the clusters and speak the same language, because our training for employment language is too much technically something, and we can't connect with them. For us, a MATES project, it's aligned with the initiatives that we are carrying on in our Directorate General of Training for Employment. And we are doing something, initiatives very, very similar of MATES project. For example, we are looking for the presentation of Lucía Fraga about producing material about shipbuilding or renewable energies, and we are doing a commitment with the University of Coruña about this, with the mechanism, recuperable and resilience mechanism from Europe, about the same line. About we want to provide people the training offer that the economic sector needs. If we don't do that, we don't help people to get improved her employability.
Okay, thank you. And that's true. And it's related also what I said at the beginning. You need people to develop the blue economy. And you also touched the point of attract young people, and these are the videos and so on. It's important to attract young people for the industry. And also too, I think it's a MATES project help you or help bringing the stakeholders together, because as you said, you're starting to speak the same language and you start to have a basis of discussion. You are not discussing out on a blank paper. You already have a basis for discussion. So this is good. I don't know if I open now the floor, but maybe I would ask Iván, since how is your view on, as we said, bringing the stakeholders together on the Pact for Skills and this initiative? What are your considerations about this tool or this forum for discussing these issues that the Commission started in different sectors?
I think it's a very good initiative overall, having different industries coming together and getting certain commitments on what they will do on skills in particular. Sometimes is as we say, is a balancing act for companies that are facing a very difficult economic environment to go out there and commit on certain aspects of skilling, of hiring and skilling people. Just for the record, and I mentioned this when I was talking about the manufacturing capability that we can have in Europe if we develop the right skills and if we have the right investments. 4 out of 5 wind turbine manufacturers today are not making money. So the situation across the value chain is quite critical. And when it comes to providing higher amounts of employment, the very strong competition in the tendering processes is not helping the industry to actually create more jobs in Europe. And it's a very delicate situation that we are facing today. So the commitments when it comes to skills and hiring, they need to be matched to the same level with industrial policy that we have, to the support of the manufacturing capacity that we can get in Europe. Because what is happening is that we are facing today energy crisis of very high electricity and gas prices. And at the same time, renewables are like the most affordable energy or electricity generation that we have. So from the one hand side, we want very cheap renewables that they go on tenders with very, very little margins. Some of them push to the extreme of not having revenues at all. On the other hand, we see very high gas prices and very high electricity prices that are not able to transfer that amount of revenues into the manufacturing and to the support of the industrial sector in Europe. So I don't want to turn this into a political discussion, but definitely the Pact for Skills is something that we see very positive, but we want also policymakers to act in accordance with a very strong policy, industrial policy that rewards and provide incentives for manufacturing to remain in Europe, because this is what we want. If we want jobs in Europe, we need to have the factories in Europe. If we want to increase the number of skills and the job offers that we can get, well, we need to offer those jobs here, not overseas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think it's important also to have this view of how these things could could work or improved in the future. So Chiara, could you give us an example of how ESCO classification is being used in the maritime sector? I believe you have a lot of examples of several sectors, but if you can focus on the maritime sector, but broader.
Yeah, sure. I mean, depends on it's more on the use case, I think, rather than the sector, because sometimes, I mean, many implementers of the ESCO classification are really HR providers. So someone who really supports finding the talent for an industrial area, right? So for a big company, they do search through this way. So in that way, it's very much about reading the job vacancy of one person, understanding what are the skills of that person, and then mapping to the profiles that are available. So people who are searching for jobs, and for that is important the update of the classification, for example. So the work we have done for MATE, if we do not have such job profiles, the machine cannot find them, right? So you do need more training data or just in general classification to map to, and the translation in every language to be able to do this bridge between the job seeker and the occupation that is available. So this is more for big uses, but also smaller uses. There are universities who develop surveys on skills for students. So you can just, I suppose maybe we can also learn something more. But in general, you can take the ESCO classification. You can also just not take singular skills, which are many. I would never build a survey on 14K skills, but you can get the skill groups or something else, or do a selection yourself, and then look what are your students interested in, or what are the courses that your students are learning leading to, like where is it going, what are the occupations that can be suggested out of a qualification. So
I think it's an important tool also to align, let's say, the needs or the seeker for what are your competencies, your skills, and align them, or speaking the same language, let's say.
Exactly.
Speaking the same language. So
or even what you already have, yeah, or what you already have if you are working onshore, what are all the difference with the offshore and all the security courses that you should attend, but you need to know the difference. If you do not know, you cannot suggest the career like courses and so on to approach to a different area.
Okay, Iván.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things that we discussed with Chiara in the development of ESCO was also the differentiation of seniority. When it comes to skills, the differentiation in the seniority of the skills that you need to get is very important. So once we are able to get, for example, a good pool of entry-level technicians, for example, it's going to become more and more difficult having, for example, a senior engineer that has developed 3 or 4 offshore wind farms. You know, also because there are not too many. You know, we have 115 wind farms out there offshore. So the level of seniority also when it comes to certain skills becomes very important, which the ESCO was blind to it until we discussed that. And the other element was exactly this distinction between what a technician onshore needs to have in terms of skills and qualifications versus offshore, and versus something that someone that will work on a marine environment. Which is completely different than working onshore.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe to compete on the seniority, just it's very difficult at European level. I mean, if you have to choose the seniority for every country, the same qualification can lead to different levels, right? So I agree, amazing, but still you wouldn't find much in the classification, but it's because it's really difficult to agree between all the countries.
Yeah,
so.
it's 27 countries.
Just to give the background.
That's also the adventure of the European community, let's say, the European Union, to bring together different countries, different cultures, different systems. This applies to everything, so it's always we are building on. So regarding Galicia, you are on the forefront of the agendas of working in your agenda for skills. So do you think maybe it's a good example for others to follow? No, it's also different from all countries because you have autonomous regions, let's say, with a proper government, but maybe others can look what you are doing and implement also in their territory, in their community.
Yeah, could be.
Could be.
We don't know. For us, the MATES project is an example for other economic sectors to do something similar, because our pact of capacities is for skills. It's like MATES, but from all the economic sectors in Galicia. So we think that if other economic sector knows this project and could understand the importance of collaborate and working different stakeholders together, the result is great. And we need this result to put new public policies in training for employment. Because if we don't know what the real needs have the economic fabric, we can't do other thing that repeat all we are doing in last years.
Okay, thank you. The document that was presented this morning. Okay, I will open the floor after. Just a quick comment. So the document that Miguel presented show the commitments of all the partners of the MATES consortium. So, and for instance, in our case, we also will bring some of these results to developing the skills agenda of our cluster. But this is open to others to take on the results, and like you are doing, and ESCO and Wind Europe, and to take profit from this. So I now open the floor to all of you here and online. So I believe there's a question online.
Yes, there's a question from Marianne Kraslewski, but I think she wants to do it herself. So she didn't send me the question. I'm trying to give her, Marianne Kraslewski, and to give her the song.
Good morning to everyone. Do you hear me?
Yes.
I will speak without video. First of all, I would like to mention that I am the doctor in engineering sciences of ICT. Now I am senior by still active, and first of all, I would like to congratulate on the results of the MATES project. For me, it's very important and very huge new experience, because in 2009 I was the rapporteur for the Economic Social Committee opinion on the sectoral skill councils commissioned by Mrs. Wallström from the European Commission to the European Economic Social Committee. Later, on behalf of the shipbuilding sector in Poland, I joined the project Upskilling Shipbuilding Workforce in Europe, project organized by Commission and European social partners in the shipbuilding sector. The project USWE. Project was created by European social partners from the maritime technology sectors. Currently, in the shipbuilding sector in Poland, we are creating a practical implementation based on the aforementioned projects and the MATES projects, and we have obtained government support for the creation of a sectoral skills and employment council for the marine technology sector in Poland, including renewable energy from the sea, offshore energy as well. I see that the project mentioned by me have great similarities, and if they will coordinate, we can use optimal synergies could be achieved to close the skills gap in the shipbuilding and other sectors. My question to panelists and project authors is there any cooperation or even interaction between your project and the aforementioned initiatives like European documents about sectoral skills councils or a project by European partners from maritime technology sector? It would be good to set up a group to find the optimal synergy between these projects and initiatives.
Okay, I think we
and
believe...
it is question. Thank you very much for.
Okay, I think we understand the question. I will let Lucía from SETMAR, the coordinator of MATES, to answer you.
Thank you for the question. Indeed, the USWE, the USWE project and MATES had quite a lot of similarities. And indeed, they are applying to very similar funds. They didn't start at the same moment and they didn't finalize at the same moment, but during the time they were working together, there were some approaches between them. And we followed the results produced by each one of the other. You can find references in our documents, even if we didn't succeed in creating a common group of work or something like that. But the connections were done, and at present, they continue to exist through the Pact for Skills. Most of the members of the USWE project are part of the Pact for Skills in shipbuilding, which is linked also to the MATES project. We had several meetings transferring experiences, and also some of them are part of the Pact for Skills in the offshore renewable energy. So there are continuous connections. But I believe that there is room to improve the transfer of results and the connections. And it's very nice to hear from you that you would welcome them.
Okay, thank you, Lucía. Any other question from the audience or online? Okay, Mark.
Hello, good morning. Mark Alves, Colab Plus Atlantic, also a cluster of different companies from space and ocean industries in Portugal. And my question is about, well, first is to Iván. I believe that you are more familiarized with these topics. So when we talk about offshore or offshore industries, the first thing that came into my mind is the harsh environmental conditions, which means that we need to do remotely as much as possible. This is a critical point. So in this context, is already a trend or a visible trend, the development of skills a bit aside of main topics, but more aligned with data analytics, with the space-based services, these type of things that are not really directly to the core of the industry, but are really relevant. And the second part of the question is about the added value that you believe that those high qualified people, because we are talking about very high qualified people, brings into and what is the weight in the added value that they can bring?
Indeed, when you think about particularly the North Seas, yeah, it is harsh. It is a harsh environment, probably not that much in the Mediterranean Sea. But when you go out there in open sea, obviously it is a difficult environment, which, for example, sometimes that even puts aside gender balance in the maritime industries, you know, which is something that also we are trying to tackle. But to answer a specific question when it comes to digital skills, I was 2 weeks ago in a workshop with company members of Wind Europe on Earth observation technologies, okay, which is exactly using a lot of the satellite technology that Europe has put out there to analyze environmental and meteorological conditions, for example, for scouting better sites, and also implement better strategies for operation and maintenance at the right periods of time. One of the things that sometimes is overseen is that you just cannot go out there and see 100 kilometers off the coast whenever you want to go and do operation and maintenance of your turbines, or even install them. There are specific windows throughout the year that actually you can carry out works at sea. For your own safety, but also because sometimes there are in the middle of shipping routes, or because there are military and exercises. There's a huge amount of sea that is covered by military operations, if you didn't know about that. And with the use of remote technologies, we are much more able to adapt and to plan, for example, those interventions, and to even to plan for prospective sites in the future. So it's been seen, it's been looking at. In fact, there was also one Spanish technology center, Tecnalia, that was also even developing a submarine robot to go and inspect subsea cables and see whether they are damaged. And one of the key, autonomous, completely autonomous. One of the key jobs, sorry to say that actually we want to avoid using is divers. That's the most dangerous of all the jobs. You know, you can go out there in a helicopter, you can go there and jump on a turbine, but you don't want to go and dive in the cold North Seas to inspect subsea cables or to inspect substructures. That is one key aspect that we want to automate. You know, go and look at welding structures and inspection technologies that can be done that remotely. And what's the value added? Well, it's huge. You know, you ask, well, what's the value out of these skills? Is enormous. It's about technology development, but also is about the startups and new business models that they can bring. Here in Belgium, for example, with the Ministry of Defense, with the Navy in Belgium, some members of Wind Europe are developing also drones that help the Navy to survey and monitor the Belgian sea space, because there's been well known that is a trafficking route that go into the Netherlands, you know, and sometimes we have seen strange packages attached to the foundations of offshore wind turbines, and, you know, boats coming at night and picking them up. So even that, also policing and having remote sensing items is extremely important for cooperation between public authorities, developers, governments, and research institutes. Very important.
Okay, thank you. And this will be applied also for other offshore, let's say, activities for sure, like offshore aquaculture and other things that will need autonomous and vehicles and monitoring without divers and things like that. So any other question? Yuri?
I just want to refer to the last presentation by Junta Galicia about that jobs posted on offshore and naval sector are requiring digitalization. So my question, how much this assessment of digital skill is well established for companies? Because actually all publication in European Commission related to digital skills are dated by 2017. But you can imagine that how in area of digitalization, that all is changed. So at least in recent digital skills, okay, what you call a digicomp, there is no robotics, data is minor reflected, security is not that right way, and so on. So the issue that you need to define specifically digital skills for the maritime industry and for others industry. All documents need to be updated. Also, Digital Coalition is also started in 2017-16, and what they produced? They don't produce any recommendation to assessing digital skills. So this need to be assessed at a level like somebody posted in a chat, at a level at least what used by companies. Okay, so a lot of aspects on this, but still the message is need to update and also develop a methodology for companies to assess skills, because sometimes if it's assessed not according to a well-structured or specialist from a digital area, from computer science, the candidate can trick commission that they is competent, but in fact, their competence is not sufficient to run modern equipment, robotics, automation, a sensor network, and so on. So if there is comment, it would be interesting. At least is my message to this.
Thank you so much. The study that we speak about, the study for the emerging technologies for transformation for employment, has the final of this study was on February of this year, February 22. So we hope that the digital necessaries that this study detect is updated almost today, maybe not in 2 months, but we know that. But for us, the importance is to have a start, a point for start the work. And we want to transmit that this study that we have done last year is the point of start a new model of co-governance. And that's the second part of our presentation, the skills agenda, because that's a live model between clusters or companies or administrations and people who want to get a job in this type of system. So now I think that we have updated the digital needs of these companies.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment, or the Commission wants to say something about this issue, or Felix, any? No? Okay. No, it's okay. No, okay.
Personally, I cannot imagine that we haven't updated anything and have not published anything new regarding the development of digital skills since 2017. I have strong doubts there. I do not know. I'm not working in the service that deals with the digitization, so I'm not an expert in that. But I cannot imagine that my colleagues have been sleeping since 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe
Chiara?
A couple of comments. So for example, DComp has a 2.0, so it has been just updated, I think just a few months ago or last year. And in ESCO, we are now working on, so we have all those many skills, right? We are working on labeling them as digital. So we have done this work for the green skills to label what could have been considered green or not, just an additional label to add. And now we're doing the same for digital, which should be published by June. So it's coming soon. Yeah, this is about all the skills that people have. So for one occupation, also what was said before, right? So for the offshore, you may as well just have analyzed data or more skills related to drone and so on. So this is about labeling those skills as digital.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I say something very quickly about digitalization? Because perhaps, yes, not the Commission. I also find it hard to believe that there is nothing updated, but there is a lot of work that needs to be done at national governments. One company that develops projects in Italy, every single wind farm that, this is onshore, this is, by the way, this is onshore, but I'm sure that it's going to be the same for offshore. Every single wind farm that he develops, he budgets around 40,000 euros for printouts, because he needs to deliver on paper all the technical documentation to the local authority. And there are pictures of a room like this length full of binders, that every single time that he goes and submits a project proposal for an authority, that's a row of binders that he needs to submit. So digitalization is something that I will encourage, not only for industry, but also for our colleagues in government to really take seriously. Having databases for things such as land registry, this piece of land, who is belonging to, and environmental impact assessments, and what are the substations in your perspective region that a solar farm or a wind farm can be connected to, et cetera, et cetera. I would encourage a lot of digitalization also at government level.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. So I think we arrived to the end of our time. Thank you very much for your contributions to the debate, to the audience, and to everyone that took the time to be here and online. And I will give the floor to Lucia to close our conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frederico, for this moderation of the panel. I will be very, very brief. I keep from this last panel the message of needing to build together and to cooperate together to continue promoting in the skills, but also to update continuously the needs that are arising with each time the world is changing more rapidly. We noticed that in the last times when we get the pandemic, many trends that we had identified were accelerated, and it's a continuous process of acceleration. So we need to work all together, and we hope that we have make a good starting point with this project that could be continued with the Pact for Skills, or even new initiatives that could arise in the new skills agenda. We never know. It's always surprising with new instruments, but we are here to continue collaborating, and that's the main message that we would like to transmit. And I also would like to thank all of you for the efforts coming today here or staying today with us remotely, because it has been a pleasure to count with such contributions in the project and today and for the future steps. So I will just close. I said it would be brief, and I'm sorry for those who are not in person, but the food is not transmissible by USB yet, and we cannot invite you to take something. It's going to be upstairs. Okay. So just, I don't know if they can put the cameras and we can make a photo finish before closing everything. Can you put your cameras and we can make this, because we would like to have people in remote also in the. We are seeing familiar faces and it will be quite difficult to make the photo with all of us here, but we can at least have them with the computer photo. Thank you for this, and for the project partners, we will meet tomorrow in the steering board, and thank you for attending for all the rest.